All right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you ready, Wayne?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to E14 Podcast. I'm Jamie Britt.
And I'm Heath.
And together we are E14. And today with us, we have Wayne from Florida Man on Florida Man Podcast. Thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely. How are you guys?
Good, Wayne. How you doing, man? Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can tell, but Heath is totally fangirling.
I'm fanboying over
Or
here.
fanboy.
I'm not a fangirl. I'm a fanboy.
Well, no, I'm honored to be here, man. Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to kind of hang out and spend the evening together. It'd be good fun.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Before we get started, let me make this disclaimer because the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of our own and not the United States Navy or our respective commands.
You know what that means, Jamie?
Go ahead.
You can take it or leave it.
Yeah. Awkward silence after that.
So welcome, Wayne. Welcome so much. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Wayne. I was born and raised in Central Florida. I'm married to my lovely wife, Sarah, and I've got two beautiful girls, Sadie and Harper. And one of three hosts on the Florida Man podcast. And big Florida fan. So we talk about it for a living.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I love the lore of Florida. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Funny enough, y'all have lots of it. You never seem to run out of
It's
topics.
true.
You know what? It's a cursing for the rest of our. It's a curse for the rest of our state. It's a blessing to us.
That's true. Exactly. But before we dive deep into the Wayne story, we're going to pause for a word from our sponsors. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Wayne from the podcast Florida Men on Florida Man. So we got a little introduction of Wayne. You know, Wayne is not on his show. He has two other, or actually three other, right?
That's right. Yeah. So it's Greg, Wayne, Josh, and Cameron. Those are the four hosts. The three most popular ones, the ones that speak the most often, are myself, Josh, and Cameron.
Yeah. Who's the fourth guy that's always like opening mail for y'all?
That's Greg. Greg is he's hideous beyond description, and his voice is one that scares children. So we keep him off the air for the most part, and just stick to the three of us.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Unless you want to tell a scary story, and then
Yeah,
he would be your guy.
Then we let Greg on, but even then, we try to keep it family friendly. So it's best that he just stays locked away when we record.
He can open mail or do cartwheels or something in the background.
Right, and he does that frivolously.
Awesome.
He does the clapping hands in the audience.
Awesome. So in Florida, in the Men on Florida Man podcast, you got Wayne that does the lore of Florida.
Right.
Florida Man has a lot of lore. You got Josh, who gets everybody to know each other, kind of introduces everybody to the audience, all the guys, and then you have Cameron, who does the headlines.
That's
and there's
right.
no shortage of headlines when it comes to Florida or lore.
No, it's all day, every day, man. It's there's literally hundreds of years of just crazy history, and the good thing about it is it's still happening. I guarantee you a dozen or so headlines happen today, and we won't know about it until tomorrow. So
Right.
yeah, like I said, it's a blessing. A lot of content to cover.
Right, because Florida Man never disappoints.
No,
That's
he's got
true.
lots of energy. He's everywhere all at the same time.
So you guys have such great chemistry on your show, and that's why you're
Thank
such
you.
a smash hit, man. So how did y'all meet? Have y'all known each other for a while?
Yeah, a very long time. Josh and I met in high school, long time ago, and Cameron, we met him a couple years into high school, and we actually were in a band together. That's how we kind of got close, started writing music, and we hit the road whenever Cameron was still a teenager, and Josh and I were in our early 20s. So we just kind of formed that bond, traveling out and all over the place, and just been best friends ever since.
So what kind of music do y'all play?
So at the time we did, it's kind of like indie rock back when that was still a thing. We kind of started off around 2003 or four. We had a couple songs on the radio and signed some contracts that were in over our head and got taken advantage of. But we had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, it was a good time.
So what did you play? What instrument?
So I played guitar and I sang.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was Cameron played guitar, and Josh was actually our tour manager. He handled all of our finances and the tour scheduling and that kind of stuff.
What years was this that y'all were
Uh,
doing all that?
we started in '04, and the band broke up in 2011, I believe.
Cool. So I want to talk about y'all's intro song. I love y'all. I love y'all's intro song to the
Thank you
podcast.
very
Is
much.
that you singing?
That's actually Cameron singing.
Oh, is it?
That is Cameron singing. Yeah, oddly enough, I was the lead singer in the band, but Cameron went on to graduate from Florida State. He is a part of what he does for a living is music direction and teaching.
Okay.
And so he's classically trained. Don't let him tell you otherwise. He sings he sings Italian and all of the above. So that's him singing on our opening song.
I heard the I heard the episode where if you speak Italian, I'll take back everything. Opera, I'll take back everything I say about you. Oh man,
Right. Yeah.
that was awesome.
And he launched into an Italian song, and we had so many people write in wanting to know who that was, and we had to record a video of him doing it just so people would believe that it was
They
really
didn't
him.
believe it, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
gifted guy.
That is awesome because I thought it was a recording. I was like, no way he's singing like that.
Right. Yeah. No,
Um,
he I give him a hard time for it, but he's got the voice of an angel.
He does, man. I tell you.
Do y'all still jam out together whenever you get together, or just
A little
let it
bit.
go?
Yeah, a little bit. We write. We are licensed songwriters, so right now for the past decade or so we've done it for other people, um, and not so much for ourselves any longer. But that keeps us at home with our families and allows us to continue to do it for passion. So it's nice.
Awesome. Awesome. So 2003ish, you said in 2011 y'all split up the band.
That's right. Yeah.
So what are the idea of the podcast? Could you when did you start the podcast?
So we started the podcast towards the end of 2018.
Yeah.
And yeah, we didn't really have a creative outlet. We were working, but we didn't have anything that we weren't doing vocationally. There wasn't a hobby necessarily. And Josh actually kind of rang me up because he and I we went to private school together, and he had this idea of doing a podcast where we talk about all the crazy stories that happen at private school. And then when we met with Cameron, it was just kind of a no-brainer to bring him on board. And just the three of us sat down one night and realized that eventually those stories would run out. And so we needed something that would continue to reproduce and offer longevity. And Florida Man, it seemed like low-hanging fruit. But once we did it, we planned out a couple episodes and had a couple interest meetings and just never looked back.
Oh well. Because I tell you what, like we said, Florida Man never disappoints.
Yeah, and it just never runs out, and that's so awesome. Or like your church camp stories never run out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a plethora of those as well.
You guys had an interesting childhood.
Yeah, it's I'm thankful for it. There's nothing that I would trade, but it did provide some pretty crazy stories.
So what's in the water over there? Because y'all had interesting childhoods, and apparently everybody in Florida has some sort of story about them. So what do you think it is about Florida that makes it so unique?
I think it's threefold. I think partially there's a lot. Florida really is a melting pot. You can drive 30 minutes and there's a different culture represented than there was 30 minutes prior to that. Miami's very different from Jacksonville, and Orlando's very different from Tampa. So when you have that many different cultures together, you're going to have, stories and conflict and so on and so forth. I think the weather plays a part of it. It's really fickle. It'll be 105 degrees one day and, 68 the next day, and a hurricane the day after that. And then on top of it all, we have this law called the Sunshine State Law that makes everything accessible to the public. So if you run a media company, you can go down to the police department. You can find out anything you want to find out that happened that day, and then you publish it the next morning. So yeah, easy access to information, plus all the rest of it's just an equation for crazy.
Thinking about the Florida Man stories, I would expect a lot out of the Panhandle.
Right.
Because that's what I'm familiar with. Being from Louisiana, we were not too far from the Panhandle.
No, you're very close.
Right. Even South Central Louisiana. So I was only about 5 hours, even from Central Louisiana. So very close. Now we're only about 2 hours. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
here
Mhm.
in
Right.
Southeast Louisiana. But I was surprised to hear all the stories from Miami, from Southern Florida.
Yeah.
Big,
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that the Miami skyline was built with cocaine money. A lot of interesting history happening there. A lot of crime in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. And, law enforcement got a hold of it, and it's a beautiful place to live. But, that type of environment breeds interesting stories.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about the Chicago gang era and New York City gang era, but you don't hear a lot of movies about Tampa, and what happened down in Ybor and how gangs ran the place for decades and decades. So that's just a lot going on, man. It's never ending.
Yeah.
Never ending.
Sounds like a playwright for you guys to dabble into next.
Maybe, yeah. There's a lot
Yeah.
there, a lot of material.
The lore of Tampa, Florida.
Just spend a year on Tampa, right?
No, yeah, and we do a lot of projects out in Tampa, and it's beautiful. But you talk to anybody who lives there, and they'll tell you unashamed, beneath the beauty, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So you guys started, like you said, 2018 pre-COVID.
Right.
So about a year and a half later, COVID hit.
Right, right.
So and you guys are priests, you saw the change.
Yeah,
So
y'all rode the wave.
you rode the wave.
Sure.
So did you see a lot of changes in 2020?
We
COVID?
did. Yeah, we did. I think first things first, we tried to be cautious, and we were very fortunate that the three of us already worked together in close proximity. Um, our families are all related, so we didn't have the same setback necessarily, as we weren't forced to go to Zoom. Um, we COVID tested frequently, and we were able to record together the entire time because we were locked down together.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing in disguise in that regard, but at the same time, um, the difficulties that were felt around the world, were felt in Florida as well, and the entertainment industry, especially locally, was hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
And so we felt the brunt of that, and people weren't commuting, and so we saw some statistical differences. People weren't in their cars, and so we had to figure out how to market to people in their homes. So it was tricky.
I bet. And you saw a lot of podcasts pop up out of nowhere too, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Which, you know what, and I'm a silver lining type of guy. I don't ever want to downplay you know the awful things that happened in 2020. But I do think as a species, it helps to try and find the positive side of things.
Yeah.
And one of that was, a lot of people discovered or rediscovered creativity, and they did what they could to bring joy to themselves and to others. And podcasting was just a beautiful way to do that. And you saw them pop up all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get on Twitter without seeing a million podcasts. And it's a good
Right.
thing.
Right. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Everybody's got a voice. Everybody's
Exactly.
got, when we were growing up, if you wanted to cut a record, you had to save your money and fundraise and find somebody to produce it. And now you just, all you need is a laptop and a microphone.
It's crazy.
Same with podcasting, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It really opens up the world and allows everybody to communicate.
Yeah, definitely. And it really opens it up even though we're locked down, we still have access to everybody.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
You know what I really love about the podcast community, because we're fairly new to it. We just started in January, but it is so encouraging, and it is just a different type of community, as most actors or in the music industries, they're all trying to compete with each other.
Right.
But this community is like, hey, let's all be great. Let's all help each other and raise up and be great. And so it's been such a blessing to us as we have come into it and just learned the whole community. And for those that are thinking about doing a podcast or starting out, it's just a different type of community. Would you agree to that?
Oh, absolutely. That is very, very accurate. The entertainment industry in a lot of ways is kind of dog eat dog. Everybody's out for themselves, which is very discouraging, especially on the music side of things. But I will say, in podcasting, I've never ever seen a community of creative people kind of work together the way podcasters do. Early on, we reached out to a lot of folks and just ask for advice, ask for help, took a listening posture, and we wanted to humble ourselves early on so that we weren't humbled against our will later on. And we learned a lot of good stuff from people who had kind of been around the block, and so we felt like anytime someone comes up to us, we would, it's only right to do the same thing and do whatever we can to help others along. So I think I've never experienced something in my life like getting to know other podcasters. It's very, very friendly.
Right. And it surpasses any kind of political views, any kind
Right.
of anything. It's just like
Right.
one goal in mind. Let's make everybody better.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
And there are people, who, like we said, touching on COVID, the lockdown and illness and financial hardships plays a lot of toll on people's mental health. And podcasting, it takes people into your home, where you feel like you're part of the conversation and you're not as lonely anymore, and you're able to interact on social media. It's just connecting humans, and I think it's a very healthy thing.
Definitely. I love it. I love the community. And when you reached out to us, I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. These guys.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
let's just take a minute and talk about how big your podcast is, because y'all have tons and tons and tons of followers. So when you agreed to come on our little tiddlywink show, we were like so floored. And that's why I say Heath is fangirling, fanboying so hard, because he's like, oh, I can't just believe that we have such a huge guest on and that they would want to be even talk to us starting out.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for saying that. It's very kind. I think, and I don't mean this in a weird way at all, but the three of us, we don't really know what we're doing. We're just trying our best to make it work, and I think we realize that whatever little success we have was given to us, and we do work hard to steward that, but it. There's no bone in my body that could rest at night if we didn't try to reciprocate the help that was given to us. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that any other show needs help. I'm just saying it's part of why we do this is so that we can communicate with other podcasters and share our story and talk about our state. So, and then also give you guys a platform, because you guys are reaching people that we could never reach. Which I think is a blessing. What you guys do is amazing as well. So thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Well, thank you for being here, man. Like I said, I've been a fan. You were right, one of the first podcasts I listened to, because I wasn't a podcaster until I started my own podcast.
Right. He didn't listen.
I didn't listen to them.
Same. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna say, there's a lot of rules that we didn't know till like way into the game, because we didn't really listen to podcasts. We just started one. So we had a couple episodes we didn't publish because they were rough. And then we got a little more rehearsed. So,
what would you say would be one of the mistakes you made early on?
Rambling, believing that people wanted to hear, every aspect of our day. That was a mistake. And then on the flip side, I think one of the things that we did well was just being consistent in our release schedule. We release every Wednesday at midnight. And we've done it for 126 episodes, never missed one. Through the birth of children and illness, we make sure that the episode's ready to go out, and I think that's helped quite a bit. So,
definitely. So, on that note, you guys are busy. Like we talked about how you have a lot of followers. So the family, is this a family thing? Does the family help out a lot? Like your wives?
Yeah, a lot. I'm fortunate. We have a great team around us, and I would be remiss to not mention them. My wife Sarah, she helps us on social media. Suzette is our editor. She does a lot of that as well, and Jason is our community manager. He kind of organizes that whole attack method. But we have a research team led by Kaylee, and a graphic design team, and Spanish translation team led by Brian. And Christian handles our audio visual. So there's just a lot that goes into it. The three of us goofballs, we got the easiest job. We just sit in front of the microphone and talk. But there's an army of people that make the show happen, and without them, we'd never leave our bedroom.
My gosh,
they do a hell of a job, though.
Yes, they do.
They do.
Hats off to them.
Great.
Hats off to them.
I feel like I know Sarah. You know, I've been talking to her so
Right.
much on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
been awesome.
She's wonderful, and she has a keen sense of organization that I don't have. And in my mind, I always feel like, I've got the right motives, but I'll forget to message people back, and I lose track of it. And after like a year or so, Sarah was like, you know what, let me do that, and you just don't worry about it anymore. So I was very fortunate.
Just sending emails and talking to Mike. I got the rest
Yeah.
right.
Thank God, because I could accidentally burn the place down without her. So yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Awesome, man.
So I have a question because,
Sure.
we're new to this podcast thing, and I'm sure a lot of people are, and we are, I don't want to say we're struggling, but we have a lot on our plate with
Sure.
these episodes, trying to find time to record and edit. And we don't have an army that
Sure.
follows
Sure.
us. It's just the two of us. So
Sure.
what advice would you give to someone that's starting out, that's feeling a little overwhelmed? Like we've mentioned before, this is not your only job. You're a songwriter. How are you
Sure.
balancing all of that and the home life and everything else?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to not forget why you're doing it. I think every podcast has that reason that caused them to initially begin. Whether that was to tell stories or to provide an outlet for other people, and that has to be, I believe, the seat of your reasoning for doing it. And if you believe in that and you're passionate about that, even if you miss a week or so, like you stick on that because you know that it's not just for you. I really believe that the platforms we have, is given to us to help other people. And so I think if you stick to your motivation, stick to your guns, the thing that caused you to start to begin with, that's a huge key. And then the second thing would be to play towards your strengths. Talk about what you know. That makes it easier. And then find somebody that you love to do it with, like you guys. I mean, that's what you guys have. You're very fortunate. A lot of spouses, the idea of being creative together is unheard of. So you guys get to do a show together, which I think a lot of people would be envious of. That's amazing. But I would say to newer podcasts, on top of all of that, just know that people want to hear what you have to say, and it's good. It's cheaper than therapy, and it's good to get it out there, and never be afraid to ask for help. I mean, no one's above that. You ask your neighbor. A lot of our team, we didn't know they did the stuff they did until we asked them for help, and it just so happened they had this set of skills that we just asked them, hey, can you give us a hand, we're overwhelmed. And then Jason's like, well, this is my skill set, it's what I do.
Nice.
And so yeah, I think just put the feelers out there and keep going, don't give up.
Nice, because we started this podcast because one reason in the Navy, we were locked down. We couldn't go to restaurants, we couldn't do anything because of COVID. And
right.
I mean, even when the rest of the world was going out, we just got released from, I call it Navy jail recently. But I mean, it was for a reason. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
But I did it because of that, because we couldn't go on a date. We'll just do this.
Yeah.
Also, I got tired turning on the damn TV and seeing negativity every morning.
Right.
And I wanted something positive that might help somebody. That was our idea.
That is
No,
true.
and that for me is, there's enough out there, and it's always probably going to be never ending. And that's one of the things, is I don't want to be just another voice adding to the choir of negativity. There's enough of that, and especially in the world we live in now, God willing, post-COVID shortly, people just need it. People need to be lifted up and encouraged, and tell funny stories. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing is, you guys cover a lot of leadership and inspirational stuff. And that's something that I believe, no matter how old you are, you need that. You've never reached the pinnacle of knowledge or wisdom. So my plan is to be 85 years old and still having a listening posture, because everybody that I encounter's got something they can teach me. as far as I'm
Right.
concerned.
Love
So,
that.
I love you say that because that's our motto. Like we're both Navy. No matter how senior you get, you're still learning every day.
right, right. Yeah,
That's awesome. So you talked about, you're a songwriter
right,
by trade, right? That's what you
sure.
do, your real job. I'm not saying which other than podcasting.
Right, right,
Mhm.
right, right, right.
What is Josh and Cameron? What's their other interest or
Uh,
what they do?
Yeah, so Josh is a, creative director. The guy is a think tank, and so he to lock down what he does in a single day is very difficult. But to kind of put it simply, he's a concept designer for companies. He helps he pitch things and then takes them through the pioneering stages into production. So 3D printing, digital design, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
He's literally, and I'm not just saying this because he's my brother, he's the smartest guy I've ever met. And it irks me, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he's stupid smart. And then Cameron, he's a teacher as well. He teaches music theory and direction and choir. I'm the odd man out in the show. Everybody else in the show is more talented than I am. So I've just got to read as much as I can about Florida history to keep up with the rest of these
Keep up.
these guys. But that's a good place to be in. I prefer the pressure cooker,
That's true. I mean, that's a step up for Josh from selling vinyl and paint.
you know, yeah,
The
you
door salesman.
yeah. Josh has had a very vibrant life of careers, and part of that has to do with the fact that he's so intelligent. He'll get somewhere, and then he gets bored after a month, and he wants to go on and do something else, and not so much now as an adult, but in up until his 20s, give or take.
Wow. So
That's cool.
that's awesome. So where do you find these stories, Wayne? Where do y'all find this stuff? Do you research a lot?
Oh yeah, our team does. I don't want to I don't want to make light of the work they do, but I will say Florida's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, people, our listeners will send in hundreds of stories a week. I mean, just and to be honest with you, the real problem is combing through them all. We don't have time to comb through them all, and so our research team, will pick a few of them and then flesh them out, month by month. And that's kind of how we do it. We sift through what's been submitted to us. So early on, a lot of Googling, but fortunately, the show writes itself, and the listeners are just as involved as we are, sending content and for us to produce.
So you tell these stories, but the way you tell them is so engaging that
Thank you.
I mentioned to you before I was trying to run and listen to the podcast, which doesn't go hand in hand. If you're listening, don't try to do that because you're either going to laugh your butt off or stop running or just lose yourself. And it's the way that you tell the story is where I found myself just like really engaged. Did you have to practice that? And how did you get to the level of telling and pausing and doing all of this stuff to keep us engaged?
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I you know, I think the simple answer would be both sides of my family are Irish immigrants, and we're storytellers by nature. I'm the first one generationally that's been afforded the privilege to have a creative job. If I'm being honest, we come from an immigrant background, farmers and factory workers, and but the one thing we all had in common was telling stories. My grandpa could tell a story like you wouldn't believe, and my grandma still can. She's kicking in her late 80s, and if you go to her house, she will tell you everything you need to know about everybody. And so I think a part of it was picking up subconsciously growing up. The other part of it is copious notes. I take a lot of notes, and I take them with me into the studio, and I try to write in the way that I would speak, so that it feels more natural.
Right.
And then again, the stories, the content is a blessing. It's funny or spooky or whatever. I'm just telling it. So I feel like a conduit sometimes, just the stories kind of coming out, forcefully, if you will.
You know, I always say this, and I will always think this way, but Navy sailors, and you know, majority of our listeners are sailors. They will tell you the best stories, the best sea stories you have
Yep.
ever heard,
Yep.
and it is a part of our culture to tell stories. And I would like to be better at it and be like more like you know, and just be more engaging in it. But man, when you listen out in the smoke pit or wherever you're at on a Navy base or on the ship, and they're sitting out there telling their sea stories. I mean, it's just the most engaging thing. And that's been since the days of yore, the wooden boats, you know.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I'm not an expert at all, not by any means, but you know, I would imagine, you know, when you're at sea, you know, it's one of the oldest pastimes, I think, is storytelling, you know, and people, even ancient people, painted them, you know, on cave walls, you know, just because there's always a natural human desire to tell and share your experiences. You know, and so I couldn't imagine, you know, being out like you guys are, and you know, you're having to pass the time and just tell stories. And so you guys are a blessing to your crewmates and everybody else. You guys are the storytellers, so that's phenomenal.
It's
Thank
true.
you.
And either, you know, there's only so much work you can do, right? Even
Right,
though,
right,
so you're either talking trash to each other or telling stories. There's only two things.
right,
So we're good at
right,
talking shit
right,
or telling stories.
right, exactly.
Two skill sets to
Yeah,
be a
that's
Navy
it.
sailor.
Hey, I can clean a bathroom, I can talk smack, and I can tell a story.
But you know what though? 2 out of 3 of those work really well on podcasts.
That's
So
true.
you guys are in the right spot.
And if the podcast fails, we can always clean toilets.
Hey.
Well, I don't think it will. I mean, you guys are phenomenal, and
Thank you.
you know, I can imagine, you know, the good thing about it is, you know, the thing about storytelling is when you tell somebody a story, usually they have one to reciprocate.
Yeah.
You know, so the next time you got to tell a story, you got an extra one in your, you know, repertoire to share. And so I that's what I love about it is everyone's got a story to tell.
The hardest part is reading people, Wayne. You got to read them. So if they're not impressed, you got to embellish a little bit.
Yeah, the fish has to get bigger or whatever.
Yeah, I think it comes naturally for the Irish. The fish starts off at 13 feet long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you start off big.
Yeah, and then, you know, when someone gives you the kind of the wide-eyed stare, you're like, well, maybe it was 12 and a half, you know.
Yeah, right.
But you start off as big as possible.
Yeah.
But I tell you what I really enjoyed lately is y'all stuff on the highlighting like a entrepreneur or somebody that's doing good things in Florida. Like you had a producer on not too long ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We started it's still under the umbrella of Florida Man on Florida Man, but it's a bonus series called The Social. And we just highlight Floridians who are doing amazing things. And again, just trying to, you know, put more positive content out. And a lot of these guys have done just phenomenal things, and people deserve to hear their stories. So we launched that series last month as a way to kind of get some of those stories out there.
I was waiting to go in the doc's office. I heard the one with the producer. I can't remember his name, forgive me, but
Cliff Brown.
Yeah, Cliff. Yeah, and
yeah.
He's done some big jobs. Was around some big people.
And you know what's crazy about that is I think we said this in the episode, but he wouldn't tell you himself.
Right.
You would meet him anywhere, and you would have zero idea that this guy's responsible for some of these platinum records and singles and stuff. And because he's just a humble dude, he's a dad. He's got 3 kids. And you know, he's trying to get his kids to school like everybody else, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
part of what we do on that show is to drag those stories out of people, you know, and let their tales be told.
Right, definitely. And by the way, I hear that y'all have met some Office characters on The Office. Creed Bratton. We're the biggest Office fans ever.
You know what?
Oh my God.
You guys need to help me in punishing Josh. We were doing a meet and greet in Tampa at a Comic-Con. This is a pre-COVID 2019, and we walk into the hotel, and it's been a long day, and we're pretty tired. We're going to the bar actually, and I see Josh kind of nod at this guy, and he just goes, "What's up, man?" And I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just a listener or something, you know. And we get to the bar, and I look over, and like 20-30 yards away is Creed Bratton from The Office.
Wow.
And I get so excited, and I tell, you know, Josh and Cameron, I go, "Look, man, that's Creed." And Josh goes, "Yeah, I just said what's up to him." And I was like, that's who you said hey to, and you couldn't bother like to tell us that he was standing right there in our hotel. So I'll never forgive him for that, man. That's
bullshit.
Golly.
yeah.
What a
And
friend.
and Josh is just so, that's the type of confidence that guy has. He walks by people that have done phenomenal things, and he's just like, "Sup, man?" You know what I mean? Like,
The knothead sup.
Yeah.
right?
So,
Yeah. And I'm on the other hand, I'm fangirling,
right.
fanboying, like you said,
Yeah,
30
yeah.
yards away. That's Creed Bratton,
Yeah, yeah, man. And he's like from he's also he was in a band too back in the day.
He
yeah.
was very gifted. And
Yeah,
my wife and I are huge Office fans, and
yeah.
we always joke. We like to say it's the screensaver at our house. It's always on in the background on the
True.
TV.
Yeah,
And
Same for us since 2009, I think.
I think we watched the whole season, all seasons, probably over again. Probably me about 20 times. Jamie probably 100 times. But
yeah, no, so we're in good company. It's
yeah,
it's funny. I'm a big proponent of mental health and therapy and stuff. And my therapist told me that sometimes people will watch things they're familiar with because it gives them comfort. They're not
right.
having to think about it or expect what comes next. And I said, well, that must be what's going on with The Office then, because it's on all day long at our house.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
got me through some deployments. I mean, it's got me
sure,
through some hard times. I
sure,
just put, like, at the end of the day, you put it on, you close your eyes, you can picture what's happening. And I totally believe your therapist, because that's
Yeah.
how I got through it.
Yeah, because
yeah.
2 months after we got married, she deployed for a year to Djibouti, Africa.
Wow.
2 months
Now,
Yeah.
after.
now, what's that like? I mean, you guys, when you deploy, has it always been separately like that to different
Well,
locations?
we've been married almost
Mm.
5 years.
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
I wasn't on a ship. It was actually what we would call an individual augmentee or a
Okay.
mobilization, where I was just a one person filling one spot.
Wow.
And I'm an air traffic controller, so I was filling a spot for an air traffic controller out there. So Heath has been to sea many, many times. He's an old salty sailor, but that was mine, because I'm in the Navy Reserve, so that was my
Wow.
deployment. And so it was a whole year of boots on ground, and it's hot over there, and it was just a long time to be away. And I
Right.
would revert back to the office, honestly, at
Yeah.
night, or the Friends episodes or something comfortable, and
Right.
just listen to that, and that's how I'd go to sleep.
Yeah.
Feels like, yeah, because it does feel like home,
It does. Yeah. And I tell you, I did all my stuff on ships. So I've
Okay.
been on about 5 ships, counting ships, trains, and planes. I've been around the world. Well, at least
Incredible.
once.
Incredible. And that's, as somebody that has travel anxiety, that blows my mind. Like it's funny. I was joking around with somebody not too long ago. I've never been on a train before.
Really?
And so we have a plan to try and do a mobile episode on a train down to
That would be
Miami.
awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see how that works, but
Awesome.
but I'm envious, man, that you're at what you guys do. I've been out. The closest thing I've ever done, and this is going to be incredibly insulting, but I'm just letting you know how terrible I am on the water. I've gone deep sea fishing one time, and I was sick the entire day. And so when I hear about you guys, working and living and doing everything you do out in the water, it literally blows my mind. Like I can't fathom it, man. So just major respect for that. Big ups to you guys for sure.
Thank you. But to full disclosure, I've been deep sea fishing twice, and I've got sick both times on a deep sea
Really?
vessel.
Okay.
Never on a Navy vessel, but on a deep sea fishing vessel every time.
Now, is it now? I'm curious. Whenever you're deployed, or like she was saying, when you've been out in the water on 5 different ships, what's the longevity? What's the average time that you were out there?
It depends. I've been pretty lucky, Wayne. My first ship was a carrier, so I left the ship right before. It was after 9/11, but right before we started doing the Afghanistan thing, and right after I left, that Lincoln was the first one to do an 11th month deployment. But I think they did around 80 or 90 days straight at sea.
Oh, wow.
Before they pulled in. Now I've been lucky. I've hit ports. Usually the most I've ever spent, I did about 50 or 60 days straight, but
Okay.
a lot of people have done a lot worse. I've been blessed, especially these sailors now on ships with COVID. They're quarantining a week before they deploy. So they're an extra week they're deployed, or 2 weeks they can't go home because they don't want to get COVID, and because they have to be mission ready. And I feel so bad for those poor guys, because it's gotten
Right.
100 times worse now with COVID. Luckily,
Right.
I'm not on a ship. I'm over at a special boat team, but I feel so bad for those poor guys and gals that are at sea duty right now. They're
Right.
getting the business. I mean, it's bad. Hopefully it gets
Yeah.
better.
I got a friend of mine who has deployed quite a few times. He's not in the Navy's Army, he's a Ranger actually, but he's been deployed quite a few times, and you know, it's just major respect for what you guys do, man. Being away from your families, being away from, you know, your first home, and doing that, but it's a huge blessing to have folks like you
Thank you.
who do it, and like I said earlier, man, I'm honored to be on this show. You know, we've done some guest spots and stuff in the past, but I was telling my wife before I came on, I was so excited to be here and talk
Awesome.
to you guys, and looking forward to a continued relationship as well, for sure.
Awesome,
Thank you
man.
so
I'm looking
much.
forward to it too, Wayne. One more question. So, can you tell us about some military, like, you know, you did Chappie, any other military
Yeah.
Florida people you highlighted in your show?
Yeah, we did Chappie not too long ago, a couple episodes ago, and he was just a phenomenal airman, dogfighter in like 3 different wars. First African American 4-star general, um, phenomenal guy. Early on, we did an episode called "The Jumping General," about this guy who was just a professional Nazi killer, just a real bad dude, you know, in the best way, but. You know, we've had a couple stories. One story we have involving the Navy, I think I mentioned it a little earlier. We were chatting before the episode, but Gasparilla the pirate was a real nuisance a couple hundred years ago, harassing and pillaging up and down the Florida coast, and the U.S. Navy sent him a what for 5 different ways, and that's the reason why, no joke, there's believed to be billions of dollars in treasure off the Florida coast, because they never recovered most of it. He kept getting away, and so the U.S. Navy said, "You know what? No more hostages. We're not doing this anymore. Let's send him a message," because he was doing some terrible things, and they put a stop to it, and all of his treasure sank with him. And so, yeah, so we've covered some cool battle stories. Florida's got a lot of it, man. There was you know, the ownership of our state was tossed around 3 or 4 different countries over the course of 100 years. A lot of people don't
Wow.
realize that. You know, the French and the English, the Spanish, they tossed Florida back and forth for a long time, and a lot of Navy battles are fought in the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't even touched on yet.
Right, that's awesome. But just a little bit of Louisiana history for you, you might find interesting. So where we're at in Louisiana is called, used to be part of Spain, and the capital was in Pensacola.
Look at that. Yep.
So we're all part of Florida.
It is. You guys are honorary Florida men and women.
Yay.
Right. I need to start doing some crazy crap so you can talk about me.
I know.
But you know what though? If you do, you have an excuse.
That's true.
Yeah, you just
Florida man.
like, it's the Florida in me, baby. I can't help it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So where could our listeners find your podcast and all that y'all are doing?
So if you Google Florida Men on Florida Man, you know, it'll come up. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where you listen to podcasts, you'll find us. And our social media handle is FMOFM Podcast across all the platforms. And it's pretty easy to get a hold of, and the episodes are short and sweet. So hopefully, you know, people enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wayne, for joining us, man. It's been our honor and our pleasure, and
Thank
we
you
learned
so
a
much.
lot. And I can't thank you enough.
Yeah. And again, we've enjoyed having you on. And is there anything that you would like to leave us with involving Florida that we
Well,
can close out with?
I'll tell you this, if you're ever vacationing in Florida, this is a real thing. We do have lots of wild iguanas, and they do freeze in the winter, and this is no joke, I'm not exaggerating, they will fall out of a tree and hit you in the head. That's a very real thing. So if you're vacationing to Florida, add that to the list of things you should be afraid of.
Okay, we're at in Florida, all over Florida, or mainly
Mainly in the South.
the South Florida.
Yeah.
for falling
So
asleep on it.
so hang out in the Jacksonville area. You should be okay.
Okay. Cool.
Well, again, we just appreciate you having us or you coming on our show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Thank you
with
guys so
that,
much.
No, thank you.
we'll wish you fair winds.
And following seas. 1 second, wait, I'm gonna kick off the recording.
Man, I messed up that ending.
No, it's perfect.